Good morning, guys. Namaste. I have a couple things and I wrote a couple notes, so glad you're with me if you're here. Thank you for joining in, and thank you for all my supporters, my new ones, old ones, and of course, sending blessings to the haters. We can love our way back to health and make these people less important, and that's what it comes down to, love and hate. So today we're going to talk, I'm still doing the morning pages as usual, and I'm not going through the book as much, but that is the Julia Cameron book, It's Never Too Late to Begin Again. That's sort of underlying some of these themes, and we'll continue with some of these crazy makers, and certainly I've had my share of them. So I went to yoga and I'm feeling a lot better. This has been the first since I was 20. I'm going to put the date today. I started with, let's see, what I was talking about here was from my journal entry on Saturday, July 19th, 2025. And I started thinking about how I'd been going to, and I'm reading from my journal in case you're following along with your journal. Exploring things of your body, exploring themes of your body. And that was a big part when I first went to college. I had put on the freshman 15. Usually they say girls that go away to college, your first year, you're learning to be on your own. And oftentimes you'll put on 15 pounds because you're getting used to your classes and being on your own. That certainly was my case. And I got there and I felt pretty empty because I had grown up with a lot of abuse. And so it was the first time that I was able to just explore making my own decisions, being on my own. So I started exploring these themes I thought, wow, I have been a gym member since I was 20, since I got out of college. And when I was in college, I used to do laps when I was in college. They had a really nice pool in New Paltz. A lot of swimming was their big thing. It wasn't football, and I was so glad to get away. Not that, we had a great team. We won all the time, but there was issues surrounding, jock culture and what went on with those guys in their parties. So when I got to New Paltz, it was refreshing that these guys were more into swimming. So they had a beautiful pool, nice to go just about every other night and do laps. But yeah, so I've been going to the gym for almost 40 years. Spa Lady here in Albany. Then I went to Perth Fitness up home in Amsterdam. Fit Happens at Alpenhouse. Planet Fitness in Amsterdam. Then I came over here to Crunch the past year. And then currently now I'm checking out Best Fitness. And they were all great gyms, good gyms, reasonably priced. The problem was, certainly in the beginning days, early days, not so much Spa Lady because that was geared towards women. I used to do the VHS workout tapes with Cindy Crawford, Jane Fonda, if you guys remember those years. I'm dating myself. But those were really great. It was oftentimes the bullying, certainly up home, as a woman doing weights, or in the beginning I used to do cross training before it was kind of a thing. And because I like to dance, and I had started out professionally doing, when I was little, doing ballet. So I really liked the more targeted full body workout. My ex-husband and his friend, you're supposed to do bis and tris and this and that. And I always found that a full body workout worked really well for me. So this past year was the first year that I didn't really go at all, and I was really immobile, and that was very frustrating, certainly with these themes and the harassment that's been going on and some of the other things. So this is what I want to cover today. So we'll get into a little bit more of that. We have an Amber Alert here in Lake George if you want to check out my community page. Unfortunately, this little girl was taken up from Lake George. It's horrible. I was thinking about going up to Lake George recently, so it was on my mind, and hopefully they can get these guys, whatever's going on there, check it out for the facts and what's going on with her. Horrible stuff going on. But I want to thank some of the people for being so complimentary, but right now I am I started thinking too about being alone. Somebody had got on there and made a couple comments, and a couple others too, about, dating or being involved with, and, I started making excuses to myself at first. And I started writing about it. This one was from July 16th, 2005. Starting writing about being alone and how I haven't been alone since I've been in my 20s. And I thought that was kind of interesting because I thought I was going to right away start making excuses, you know, the good wife. I mean, I still have this sort of programming about what makes a good wife and a good woman. And I thought, you know, I'm kind of having fun being alone, actually. I'm kind of having fun not having, I mean, besides all the other bad stuff that's going on, I try to look at the good, you know, the positive things in my life now. And certainly one of them is just kind of doing my own thing and not having this person demanding and me centering around them and giving to them and doing all this stuff for them all the time, that it's kind of nice being alone. Because my divorce was so extreme, and they say it's about 5 years for a 20-year marriage, and that's basically mine. And then these past 2 years, it's just been really trying to get housed. And once I was housed, dealing with more of the harassment, more of the truth, more of the lies coming out. So finally, the last 2 years, I've been sort of, I want to try to move my hands less. You know, I love David Muir, and he sits there so nice. And I keep telling myself, stop moving your hands. I talk with my hands, so excuse me. We're still practicing too. But keeping your own company again, certainly after a long-term relationship, certainly get more in touch with your body. And I can go into stories about that self-centeredness. Certainly on my honeymoon, there was red flags. It's like everything had to center around him. You know, here I was driving, I'm using the triptych for directions, and he's sitting there expecting everything to be centered around him. So it's the first time in my life since I've been 20 years old going to college that it's, you know, my life and it's centering around me, and I'm having fun, you know, picking out what I want to eat and picking out where I want to go and getting back in touch with who I am. And unfortunately, this year has been really bad with putting on the weight because of so much harassment. And it's interesting that it goes back to, you know, my first year of college when I put it, this is the heaviest I've ever been, putting on the freshman 15. Let me get to my notes here. So we went through the gyms. And certainly that sort of factored in with some of my mother's boyfriends and this group with my ex-husband. Certainly the bullying, the abuse, very competitive with my mother, very, very, and I never acknowledged that for a long time because, you know, your mother, you think that's not part, but it is, you know, they're people too, they're women, and certainly with my mother, it's been extreme. So we're going to continue to touch a base on some of these, being alone, working out for trauma too. I remember my first yoga class, I had tears in my eyes because for the first time I put this oxygen and energies towards the certain parts of my body, and it was very healing. And I can remember walking on there going, I was hooked right away because I was like, wow, what is that? To explore some of that. So again, and it's dealing with some of this inappropriate behavior from family members, their friends. Like I said, this is the heaviest I've been. So this past year, dealing with some of these maps and pedophiles and inappropriate touch, and taking steps to care for my body again, knowing all these years later what it was, and it certainly continued throughout my life. And we're running a little over, so we'll get into good touch and bad touch, certainly with this Amber Alert that's come about this morning. We can touch base on some of that because I was always told it was just getting fresh, it was no big deal. So we'll get more into that in the next video. Be safe, guys.